Hello everyone, welcome to my channel B&B CBS Gossip 24. Hope and Liam's wedding ends tragically as a result of Beth's grave error. Spoilers. Hope Logan and Liam Spencer reunited after years of heartbreak, reconnect Ion, and rebuilding. Or so it seemed. Inside the bridal suite, Hope sat still before the mirror, the soft glow of champagne-colored light warming her gown, romantic lace, delicate flowers at the waist, the skirt soft as breath. She looked beautiful, radiant even, but her eyes flickered with quiet worry. Not about Liam. About Beth. Her sweet, thoughtful, gentle daughter, who had seemed restless all week. A child with a past she couldn't remember but could somehow feel. Chapter 1. A Secret Too Heavy. Beth stood outside the dressing room, her tiny hands clutching the back of her dress. She could hear the soft music and the rustle of guests finding their seats. She should have been excited. Bridesmaid ribbons, twirl-worthy skirts, glittering flowers, she loved all of it. But she couldn't stop thinking about the words she'd overheard. Words she was never meant to hear. A conversation between Grandma Brooke and Aunt Donna, hushed voices behind a partly open door. "We can't bring up Phoebe anymore, she doesn't know she used to be someone else." Hope and Liam worked so hard to rebuild their family. If Beth ever really knew, I don't know how they'd handle it. Phoebe. A baby that wasn't Beth, and was Beth, once. A story Beth had only heard in pieces, until now. Was she someone else before she was Beth? Was she stolen? Given away? Lost? She didn't understand all of it. But she understood one thing. If Mommy and Daddy loved her because she was Beth, what if they didn't love Phoebe? What if, once they knew she remembered, they wouldn't want her anymore? Her throat tightened. She had to tell someone before it ate her alive. So when Thomas found her crying outside the rose garden, she clung to him. "Thomas listens." Hey, Thomas murmured, kneeling to meet her eyes. "Beth, sweetheart, what's wrong?" She wiped her face with the back of her hand. "I heard something. About me." Thomas's breath caught, the way she said it. So small. So frightened. "What did you hear?" She hesitated, but something in him felt safe. Like he already knew. "I heard Grandma talking about how I wasn't really Beth. Not at first. I was someone named Phoebe." Thomas froze. His heartbeat slammed through his chest. Memories he had buried under therapy, medication, years of painful growth flooding back. Hope's grief. Liam's anger. The moment the truth came out. The night everything broke. He had moved forward. He had healed. He had rebuilt trust. And now the wound was opening again, in the arms of a little girl who didn't deserve any of this. "Oh, Beth," he whispered, gathering her gently. "You were always you. Your name changed, but you didn't. You were always the same heart. The same little girl. The same miracle." "But, was I stolen?" she asked, voice cracking. Thomas shut his eyes, agony pulsing behind his ribs. He could tell the truth, and destroy the wedding. Or he could lie, and betray every inch of progress he'd earned. His voice shook. "You weren't stolen. You were found. And your parents love you more than anything in this world. That part is real. That part is forever." He thought he had soothed her. He thought he had protected her. But Beth heard what he didn't say. If she was found, then she was lost before. And she needed to fix it. The guests rose from their chairs as the music swelled. Hope walked down the aisle, luminous, emotional, eyes locked on Liam. Liam's expression softened into something reverent, a look that held years of love and forgiveness and belief. Rich wiped a tear discreetly. Brooke clutched Donna's hand. Steffi stood still, composed, but even she felt the weight of the moment settle into something beautiful. The minister smiled warmly. "Dearly beloved, we are gathered today." But beyond the aisle, unnoticed, Beth stood watching, chest fluttering, stomach churning, heart pounding. Phoebe. Beth. Phoebe. Beth. She didn't know who she was supposed to be. And suddenly, her small voice broke through the hush. "Stop." Gasps. Rustling. Hope turned mid-vow, heart lurching into her throat. Beth ran to the front, tears streaming, breath shaking. "Please stop. I can't let you get married if you don't know." Hope knelt instantly. "Sweetheart, what's wrong?" Beth sobbed, looking between them, her tiny voice shattered and trembling. I wasn't always your daughter. I was someone named Phoebe, and I think I'm not supposed to be here. The world stopped. The guests froze. Hope felt the earth tilt beneath her feet. Liam's face drained of all color. Chapter 4, The Collapse. Hope's voice trembled. Who told you that? Beth shook her head. I heard Grandma. And Aunt Donna. And I asked Thomas. And he said I was found. So that means you didn't have me at first. And if I was someone else, then maybe you don't want me anymore. Hope gasped, a sound raw, human, fractured. Oh, baby. No. No, look at me. She cupped Beth's face with shaking hands. You are my daughter. You are my heart. Nothing changes that. Ever. Beth sobbed harder. But you didn't have me first. So maybe I don't belong. Liam knelt too, voice breaking. Beth, no. You're ours. Always. We don't care what happened before. All that matters is you. But Hope's tears kept falling, because the past had just walked into her future and set fire to it. The guests watched, and whispered. Steffi's hand covered her mouth, not in fear, not in shock, but in devastation. Because she remembered too. Phoebe had been her daughter once. A daughter she had lost too. And now the past was crushing all of them at once. Chapter 5, The Shatter Point. Ridge stepped forward, voice low and firm. Everyone, give them space. Please. Guests slowly dispersed, not leaving, but drifting far enough to grant breathing room. Hope sat on the edge of the raised platform, holding Beth close, rocking her as she cried. Liam sat beside them, silent, staring out at nothing, as if the weight of their entire history had just resettled onto his shoulders all at once. And then Thomas came forward. The crowd stiffened. Hope looked up, eyes red, voice empty. You talked to her. Thomas swallowed hard. She was scared. I couldn't lie to her. I just tried to tell her she wasn't broken. That she wasn't wrong. That she was still loved. Hope stood. You should have come to us. Thomas nodded. I know. The silence was thick enough to drown in. Liam's voice was quiet, but sharp. That wasn't your place, Thomas. No, Thomas agreed softly. But someone had to help her breathe. Hope looked between them, her past, her present, her child clinging to her like she was the only anchor left. And suddenly, the wedding, the flowers, the gown, the vows, felt small. Love wasn't something you proved with rings. It was something you held together when it tried to fall apart. The wedding didn't resume. There were no vows. No kiss. No celebration. Just a slow, quiet dispersal. Guests leaving in murmurs and soft glances, unsure where the line between tragedy and healing had landed. At home, later, Hope sat beside Beth on the bed, stroking her hair as her daughter finally slept, exhausted by tears. Liam leaned in the doorway, watching them, something wounded and uncertain flickering in his eyes. She's scared, Hope whispered without turning. And she thinks she ruined everything. Liam's voice cracked. Did she? Hope closed her eyes. No. But we can't get married today. Not like this. Liam nodded. Not angry. Not rejected. Just recognition. They had to rebuild again. They always did. Down the hall, Liam found Thomas sitting alone on the porch steps, staring out at the dusk. You care about her, Liam said quietly. Thomas nodded. She's just a kid, Liam. She heard something she wasn't ready to understand. I didn't want her to carry it alone. Liam exhaled. I get that. I do. He sat beside him. But you know this blew everything apart. Thomas nodded again, eyes shining with remorse. I'd undo it if I could. But the truth always has a way of coming back. Liam looked up at the stars, faint, trembling. Yeah, he murmured. It does. Final scene, Hope and Beth. Hope kissed Beth's forehead and whispered. You are my little girl. Yesterday. Today. Tomorrow. Names don't change love. Beth stirred, half asleep. Even if I was Phoebe. Hope smiled through tears, voice barely a breath. Even then. Especially then. I loved you before I ever knew your name. Beth's tiny hand reached up, resting against her mother's cheek. Hope held it there. And the night settled softly around them, not healed, not perfect, but still theirs. Hope sat at the edge of Beth's bed, watching her sleep, soft breathing, fingers curled loosely near her face, tear tracks still faintly visible on her cheeks. It should have been a wedding night. Stillness lingered in the air like dust unsettled. Downstairs, Brooke was pacing, and Hope knew Steffi was coming. Brooke had tried to stop it. But some storms can't be held back. Some truths demand their moment. The door opens. The knock was soft. Not commanding. Not confrontational. Hope's breath caught in her throat. She stood, each step down the hall weighted with memory. Blonde lace brushing her ankles, veil abandoned in the dressing room hours ago, the house smelling of flowers delivered for a wedding that never came. Brooke met her at the bottom of the stairs. "You don't have to do this tonight," Brooke whispered. Hope nodded. "But she does." Brooke hesitated, then opened the door. Steffi stood there. Not in control. Not polished. Her eyes were red. Her makeup was smudged. Her hands trembled once before she forced them still. "Hope," she whispered. Hope swallowed hard. "Come in." Brooke stepped back, but her gaze never left Steffi, protective, wary, maternal as armor. Steffi took a deep breath. "Brooke, would you mind giving us a moment?" Brooke hesitated, the Logan in her ready for war, but Hope gently touched her arm. "It's okay." Brooke kissed Hope's forehead before leaving the room. The door clicked shut. And the silence between them was a living thing. Steffi looked around the living room, the toys, the framed photos, the soft evidence of a childhood lived in safety. "She has a beautiful home," she murmured. Hope nodded. "She's happy here. She knows she's loved." "I know," Steffi whispered. Her voice broke on the word. Hope's shoulders softened, just slightly. "You saw what happened today," Hope said. "She's confused. And scared. And she thinks she hurt us." Steffi nodded, slow, aching. "I didn't come to take her away." Hope blinked, and her breath shuddered out. Steffi continued, voice trembling. I lost her once. And I didn't even get to say goodbye. 1 minute she was my daughter. My baby. My world. And then, she wasn't." Tears slipped silently down her cheeks, not dramatic, not loud, just grief that had waited years for air. Hope felt something inside her crack. She sat across from Steffi, hands clasped tightly in her lap. "Steffi," she said gently. "You were a good mother to her. No one ever took that from you." Steffi let out a sob, soft, raw, real. Hope's own eyes filled. They had never allowed themselves this moment. They had been rivals. Opposites. Women tied by one man. Mothers tied by one child. Now, just two hearts carrying impossible weight. "I didn't know, Hope," Steffi whispered. "I didn't know she wasn't mine when I held her. When I rocked her. When I sang to her. When I fell in love with her." Hope nodded, tears rolling now. "I know. And when I found out," Steffi's breath shook. "I had to give her back. Just like that. No time. No goodbye. No letting go. Just," she closed her eyes. "Just gone." Hope covered her mouth, a quiet, involuntary sound escaping, because she finally felt it, not as history, not as memory, but as a wound still open. "I didn't think about your side of it," Hope whispered. "I was so overwhelmed with relief, with getting my daughter back, I didn't see what it cost you." Steffi smiled, a broken, tiny thing. "You shouldn't have had to. You were her mother first. You were grieving her while I was loving her." Silence. Soft. Deep. Shared. "But now Beth remembers just enough to be confused," Hope said softly. "And I don't know how to help her." Steffi inhaled, steadying. Hope watched her carefully. Steffi's strength wasn't armor now, it was compassion. "She needs the truth," Steffi said gently. "All of it, but at her pace. Her level. No secrets. No shame." Hope nodded. "I want you to help me tell her," Hope said. Steffi's eyes widened, tears welling again. "You do." Hope's voice cracked. "She remembers you, Steffi. Not your face. Not your home. But the feeling. She remembers being loved. By you." Steffi pressed a hand to her mouth, a sound slipping through, a sob held for years. Hope reached out, slowly, and took Steffi's hand. Steffi closed her eyes. 2 mothers. 1 child. No war. Just love. Complicated. Painful. Still love. Scene 4, Brooke returns. When Brooke stepped back in, she froze, because she saw it. The connection. The healing. Not through words, but through presence. Mom, Hope whispered, Steph is going to help me tell Beth. Not today. But soon. Brooke looked at Steffi, decades of rivalry flickering behind her eyes, and then something softened. Thank you, Brooke said quietly. Steffi nodded. I'm doing it for her. Brooke hesitated. Then, surprising herself, offered her hand. Steffi took it. Old grudges didn't vanish. But they loosened. Just slightly. Scene 5, upstairs. Steffi paused at Beth's door, looking small, uncertain, almost afraid. Can I? She whispered. Hope nodded. Just don't wake her, she said softly. She finally stopped crying. Steffi stepped into the dim room, the soft glow of a nightlight shaped like a bunny illuminating Beth's tiny sleeping form. Steffi sank to her knees beside the bed. Her voice was barely a breath. Hey, sweetheart. Her hand hovered just above Beth's hair, not touching, just close enough to feel the warmth. I missed you, Steffi whispered. I always have. A tear fell, silent, onto the quilt. But you belong here. With her. You were always meant to. Beth stirred, just a little, and her tiny hand reached out in her sleep, fingers brushing Steffi's. Steffi choked out a quiet, broken sound, all the grief, love, memory, release flooding her. Hope stood in the doorway, watching, not jealous, not threatened, but moved. This wasn't losing Beth. This was giving Beth more love. Final scene, the piece that hurts but heals. Back downstairs, the night was deep and still. Steffi slipped on her coat. Thank you, Hope said quietly. Steffi shook her head. No. Thank you. For giving me this, even just a moment. Hope stepped forward, and pulled Steffi into a hug. Not symbolic. Not forced. Real. Steffi held on. Hope held tighter. When they separated, Steffi smiled, soft, tired, honest. We'll figure this out, Steffi said. Hope nodded. Together. Steffi left. Brooke placed a hand on Hope's back. Well, Brooke whispered. That was unexpected. Hope exhaled, shaky but steadier. It was right. And for the first time that day, Hope felt something close to peace. Not perfect. Not final. But real.